Hey guys, welcome back to the Tukes and Tires YouTube channel. As always, I'm Zach, and this week we're building this wicked LSX for the C1 Chevelle.
Hey, is that Timmy's?
Yeah, because we're in Canada. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. You already heard what we're doing, and you probably already saw a beautiful motor sitting there, but obviously we got to get to that point. So I saved you guys some time. This was the motor that was sitting in the parts room in the back. I ended up cleaning it up, taking the accessory drive off, and I had to pull out all the exhaust studs that broke off, and pretty much every single one busted off. So I didn't think you guys needed to see me struggle with that stuff, so we just took care of it. I had some more parts show up in the mail for this thing. My alternator bracket showed up, the wrong one got sent to me, so I had to send one back. And my old buddy actually gave me this cam to throw into this motor, and you've seen him on the channel before. He did some welding for me. He's going to be in this video actually doing some stuff. But we got another motor over there that I'm going to show you in a second, but I've never heard this motor run, and I kind of want to hear it run before we do anything to it, before we throw money at it and paint it. And the easiest way for us to do that is to make it fuel injection. So if you recognize this stuff over here, this came out of my buddy's vintage altered drag car, and last summer we LS swapped it because he blew up the small block, and I said I had a crazy idea, let's throw an LS into it and see what it'll do. Didn't do very good, but we got the stuff back from him that he took out of the car. So, you know, I obviously wanted the headers back because those things are sweet and they're just going to be cool for firing motors up. And we might do something with them in the future, so obviously I wanted that. But what we're going to do is we're going to take the intake off of this and all the computer, and I think only the alternator, because we have a belt just long enough that's going to go around the crank, and the alternator just so that it can sense it's charging. And we're going to throw that onto the other block because I know all this stuff works. So we're going to come back to, once I have all that stuff taken off that motor, thrown onto this one, and we're going to fire it up, see what it sounds like, put some new oil into it, and get everything moving again. So let's get that stuff onto that one magically. Here we go. Okay guys, so we got everything transferred over from that other motor onto this one. We threw some fresh oil into it. Obviously we got to still hook up a battery and some fuel. But I'm hoping this thing's going to fire up and it's not going to make any funny noises. I'm loving these lakeside pipes that I made, so we definitely got to put those onto something. But we're going to set up a tripod and see if this thing fires up. Okay guys, so we've primed the system. We got a battery hooked up to it. We just got our little starting block here with a switch and a power button for the starter. So we're going to see if this thing cracks off. We have not tried yet, so let's see what happens. Okay, Dad, you ready? Mm-hmm. Nope. Okay, take two. I guess we should hook the oil pressure gauge up to it, eh?
Yeah, good thing we got that plug in there, eh?
Yeah. Look at that. Fired up pretty nice. Didn't hear anything so far. We're going to get an oil pressure gauge on it, run a little longer, and, you know, hear what it sounds like. Make sure we got everything's happy. So, that was cool. I love these friggin' lake pipes. Well, I had about 40 pounds of oil pressure, so, and no crazy knocks. There was some weird stuff that came out of the oil pan when I drained like the oil that was in this motor, so, you know, that's a thing. But at least now we know it runs. I feel confident enough to start stripping it down and start putting my new parts into this thing. So we'll, you know, we're going to take all this junk off, so we're going to magically come back to once it's a bare block again. We'll splash some paint on it, and then we'll start throwing the goodies on her. The motor is magically disassembled and painted. It's looking pretty sweet for just some rattle can thrown on there. But I thought we'd go over the stuff that we're going to be throwing inside this motor. Obviously, there's a bunch of goodies for the outside, but we got to put the inside in first. So if you watched the other video where we went over this stuff, what I've bought so far, you would have seen all the stuff, but we'll go over briefly in this and, talk about it. I don't know how much in depth we're actually going to go into putting the cam into this thing. There are a bunch of videos out there of how to do a cam in an LS, so we might just graze over it briefly. It's pretty cinchy, but we'll start over at this end of the table. We obviously got our new valve seals for the stems on the valves, so that'll be good. We got some lubricant here for the cam. Hopefully that's going to work. We got some upgraded chromemoly push rods, some upgraded springs. This is a Stage 2 Sloppy Mechanics cam. I got that from my buddy, Enemy Metalworks, so that's pretty sweet. And I thought I'd show you guys this little thing that I made up. So you can buy something like this online, and for some people that don't know what this is, I'll kind of explain it a little bit. So we're going to be doing this on the motor, and we're going to be putting compressed air into the cylinder to keep the valves up. This is just a fancy little clamp that's going to be able to push down on the top of the springs. There's keepers in here that keep all this jazz in line. We're going to use a magnet to take the keepers out. Once this is compressed down, we can take everything off, put all the new stuff on, and then reverse the process. So this is a slick little thing. Like I said, you can buy something like this, but for how easy it is to make, you might as well just make it. So that's pretty sweet. This is some stuff that's going to be going on the outside. There's a couple more things, but this was in boxes that were corresponding with the stuff that was in these, so that would just lay it out here. Intake, valve covers, it's looking pretty cool. We're going to go over it a little more when we throw that stuff on, but let's start by taking these rocker covers off and start getting this stuff disassembled so we can start doing these springs. Alright guys, so I've done a couple of these already, so basically these three, and I thought I'd walk you through how to do one. It's pretty easy, so we're gonna do that now. So the way we're gonna start this off is I have this like little hose adapter thing. We're gonna put compressed air into the cylinder to hold the valves up. And we're gonna open up this slowly because I did this last time and I shot the piston right down. So now we're gonna take our little plate thing that we made. We're gonna put it in there, try to center it up as best that we can. We're gonna semi-crank this down. And it might pop, and then we're gonna take, I got this like little rubber hammer thing. We're just gonna give it a little whack with a little bit of pressure on there to get it to crack free. Start cranking it down more. My handy assistants here are gonna hand me a magnet. We're gonna get in here and just take the keepers out. We might just have to push this around to get them to come out. So now that we got that out, we can relieve the pressure on this. And I just hold my fingers on it just so that it doesn't fly all over the place. We're gonna set this to the side. We're gonna reuse that. These can come off. We're gonna reuse the top plate for our new springs, but we're gonna get in here and then you can just wiggle these old seals off. Sometimes they're on there. Once you get it going, it's good. And then they give you this fancy little clear thing that you're gonna slide over top of the valve so it doesn't catch. And then these have like they're color coded, so there's like an intake and an exhaust one. They have exhaust or intake as the blue, so it's cold side. And then I just like to take a little bit of oil. And I just put oil on everything just to make things happy. Slowly push that over. Get in there with my fingers. Push it down. Then we can get in and take this off, transfer it over to the other side, do the same thing. Get that off of there. Now we can take our new springs, put them in there, I should dump a little oil on there, onto both sides. Give them a little spin. Take our old little top plate, get this thing. And we gotta, I guess I gotta back this off. Or slip that in there. Tighten it down. They might want to walk around on you, but you can push them around. Take our keepers. Try to get them in there. You might have to crank it down just a little more. Okay, and then we got them both in there. Back it off slowly. And then with the compressed air on there, I like to give her a whack with the rubber mallet. Softly, and then kind of get a little harder. Just to make sure they're seated, and then we'll do that on the intake one. There we go. Now, we can close off the air. Shove that back in there. And then there we go. Now they're in. Now I'm going to do the other 4 on the other side, and then we'll come back to when we're putting the cam in. Okay guys, so you can see that we got all our new valve springs in there. They're looking pretty sweet. But we're gonna move on to the cam now. And I thought I'd show you guys what we use to pull the harmonic balancer off, because you have to get behind this cover. So you can see on your harmonic balancer, there's 2 ways of pulling this off. There's like tabs over here, and then there's these spots. We just have a smaller puller that hooks behind these ones. So that's obviously what I'm gonna be showing you for. But we made up this little thing here, well Dad did a while back, and this is our puller. It's just a smaller style, hooks onto the center there. But we needed a way to be able to get that to center into there. So you can see this little thing has a center punch or center hole, lines up onto that there, and it fits directly into the crank, and it bottoms out, so that way you can put your puller on there and you don't have to worry about buggering up these threads. But now what we're going to do is we're going to get that cover off so I can show you guys what we have to do to line this thing up to get the new cam in there. So let's get at her. Lacey, what are you doing? Okay, so we got that front cover off, and just remember that there's 2 bolts in the oil pan. Those do like to snap off if you don't take them out, so make sure you do that. Now you can see that we got our gear happening here for our cam, and then there's one on the crank here. Just one thing to note, there's a dot right there. You can see there that you got to line up, and then on that one down there, there's also a dot. So they have to be at the bottom facing each other. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this off here, the 3 bolts, and then obviously it might move around a little bit, but we'll reline it back up, and then we'll be able to take this out of there, move the chain to the side, and slip in the new cam once we get the old one out of there. We also have to, I'm going to show you, but we got to turn it over to make sure the lifters go up, and then we're going to shove some rods in there so they don't fall down. So let's get a tripod set up, and we'll get doing that. Okay guys, so I couldn't get any rods in there to support the lifters up, so we're just going to send it, I guess. And you're either going to see me very happy or very frustrated. So let's just hope that they stay up enough for me to get that out of there. I've spun this over like 300 billion times. I'm super nervous. am I putting it? Definitely the proper way to do that. Don't breathe. Holy Jesus. That was so nerve-wracking. Holy Toledo. I've never been more nervous in my whole entire life. Holy. We made it in there. Alright guys, so basically now we're just gonna reverse the process by putting this all back together. I've never been more frustrated and nervous in my whole entire life. But okay, here we go. Okay guys, so we got the front all buttoned up, and we took off the old valley cover, threw the new one on just so that we wouldn't get crud in there. We're gonna put our push rods in now, and we're gonna do our rocker arms. We're just using these comp cam ones. They are, I don't remember how long they are. What's it say on the box? That's the part number what I'm using right there. They're stock length, so hopefully that's gonna work out. And if the lifters didn't fall down, these should all be at the same or relatively the same height. So we're gonna go for it and see how it goes. Like they're probably the same.
You sure? I thought that was the other side.
I feel like they're probably the same. There is a bunch of cat hair on this thing. No. Look at it all. Okay, so now we got all those torqued down. We're going to put the new gaskets into the valve covers, and then we're going to throw them on there. So that's exciting. So it's really starting to look like something now. I have to wait. I'm waiting on an installer to install my harmonic balancer. So we got those bolts loose on that front cover, but these valve covers are looking pretty wicked. I opt out for the stud kit, so you can see on this side here how we got studs hanging out of it. I was very leery because I didn't know if this was going to work, because they only say it's for the race or drag race style head, but they do work on this style head. This is like a factory style. This was the part number right there that I bought. It came with obviously the little Allen key or Allen headed bolts, and then they came with the studs that you just crank in. Didn't put them too tight. The little Allen key that goes into the head also, or like little stud, has an Allen key inside of it as well, so you can tighten it in. But that's looking pretty wicked. We might try to, I think, throw the intake on now, and maybe the front accessory drive, because it's looking pretty sweet. I don't know how, we can't put too much of it on until I get my balancer, but we can mock it up and see what it looks like. So that's, I'm digging this, even though they just got the right look, you know. Okay guys, we're gonna throw the intake on. I just thought I'd show you. This is this cheap Chinese knockoff intake. It's just got O-ring gaskets. They went in pretty easy. We just threw some lube on them. All I gotta do is figure out which is the front, which is the back. We just put the lube on there just so that it would slide in a little bit easier. I think our surfaces are fairly clean here. If a little bit of dirt falls in there, it's no big deal. We're gonna go with that. It's pretty good so far. It's got a little bit of crud on it. Okay. Then we're just gonna hand tighten starting them all. Are these considered long ones or what? Oh, you got long ones. I have to say, for being a cheap Chinese intake, it came with all the hardware, and so far it's been pretty sweet. They give you a port out back for your PCV, which we're going to hook up here, or that's going to go right into the carburetor. And, you know, I can't complain with this, but we're going to get her torqued down, throw the carb on there, and I think it's going to look pretty wicked. Well, that's looking pretty wicked. We threw the carb on. That is an 850 CFM Holley manual secondaries. That's pretty sweet. I threw a couple other small things on. I put the steam port on. We're going to be tapping that into the water pump so it looks a little cleaner. Threw my dipstick in. Thinking about it now, I probably should have just bought the raw steel looking one, but black will be just fine. Now what we're going to move on to while I wait for my harmonic balancer tool installer thing, we're going to be doing this thing, this barbell. Don't know what the condition of the one that's in the motor is, but I figured we'd just replace it with this aluminum one. So we'll get this back cover off. Lacey, what's happening? We're going to get the back cover off, and while we're in there, we're going to replace all the seals. So I got a new rear seal for that, rear main. So we're going to do that. So let's get this cover off and see how it looks in there. Okay, so we got that back cover off. It's looking pretty good. Nothing obviously crazy to see, but it looks like something. We're just using the back cover to catch the oil. So the old barbell is still in there. I have got it free. This is the new one. So we're going to try to do this, I guess. Here, I'm going to try to... Let me set you up here. Hopefully you don't fall down. So, let's see here. I've lubed up this one. So, we're gonna try to do the old switcheroo. We're gonna take that one out, and we're gonna put this one in. Hopefully it works that way. Well, we got that out so far. Camera died, but we got the new one in there, and this one actually has a threaded part in there, so if you ever had to pull it out, it'd be a lot easier. This is the old one. Some people say that this disintegrates, and I totally believe them. I used a little screwdriver to actually just like pry it out of the hole, and it is pretty brittle, so good thing that we changed that. I'm going to clean up this, and I'm going to put the new seal in, and then when we come back, this should be all on, but that's pretty sweet. Alright, so we got that back cover back on, all torqued down, threw the flywheel on, cleaned it up a little bit. It's looking pretty sweet. But I got a little bit too excited and I couldn't wait any longer for my harmonic balancer installer tool thing. So we just hammered it on with a piece of wood and I threw the whole front accessory drive on. It's looking pretty sweet. I'm going to show you guys all the part numbers for this stuff just in case you want to do it on your motor. This is what I came up with that looks as close to a small block Chevy as possible. I know it seems kind of funny that we're trying to make it look like a small block Chevy, but, you know, it is what it is. This has a manual tensioner on it, so no, you know, you can crank her as much as you want to. This is all ICT billet stuff. Obviously, I'm not sponsored. I just like their stuff. It's, you know, pretty nice. I figured I didn't have to show you guys how to install it. It's basically like Legos. They give you all the instructions and all the stuff how to do it, so it's pretty easy. The belt size for this, This is the big alternator, so they recommend using the small one, but that's what I had, and it fits no problem. The belt size with the tensioner all the way down is 63 inches, 6 rib. I didn't have any problems ordering that belt, so we're just waiting on it in the mail. This water pump is nice because it throws our upper rad hose all the way over to the driver's side. You don't have a crazy long hose then. I don't know. I just like the looks of this. The part numbers for this stuff is right here. This is the upper one. I guess I should also mention all this stuff is for truck spacing, and that's what the 2010 Camaro water pump is. It's like truck spacing. This right here works on the old truck style water pump as well. I think that's what they mean by the smaller alternator. That's the only thing it works with. But basically like Legos, part numbers right there. And then this is just the idler pulley bracket that I bought. You can see the part numbers there. It's got the 3 for, that's truck spacing with ICT billet stuff. This is the water pump, the number right there that I bought. It's the cheapest one on Rock Auto, but that's looking pretty sweet. I think what we're going to do now, because I really want to hear this thing fire up, so we're going to throw the headers onto it. We're going to see how this LS series box is going to work. But just before we get to that, we're going to show you this oil pan right here and this fancy little thing we had to make up. We're obviously not going to get this onto the motor right away because I want to fire it up with the oil that's still in there, just so that we can get all the junk off the cam and it, you know, all working around. We can drain it out, and then we'll get this pan on. But we had to make up this little fancy thing, so, you know, I'm just going to let my past self take it away and show you how we did that. Here we go. Alright guys, so I don't know where this is making it into the video, but I've probably already told you what we're doing. So we're going to be taking this old LS oil pan and we're going to be making it into the relocate kit for the oil filter. I'm pretty much just too cheap to buy the thing online, and this pan that I got for free from a buddy, thanks Jordan for that, doesn't have the filter where the filter is supposed to be. And I kind of want to keep it the LS filter, so it's easy when you go into a parts store. If you want to pick one up, then you don't have to say it's for this or whatever. So you can see that we have dash 10 AN lines or fittings coming off the pan, and I just had these hydraulic lines made up at Princess Auto. It's just a tractor supply store with the same dash 10 fittings on it. I bought these fittings to put into this because if you look at it, obviously this is where it would go into the engine block or meet up with the engine block, and the pan has the same thing, that one. So all we need to do is we need to put the fittings onto here, and then we got a relocate kit. But these are too big to tap into the holes that are there, so we just need to weld some aluminum ones on there. But we're gonna dissect this apart to actually just get it a little bit smaller, because, you know, it'd be kind of weird to just throw the whole pan underneath the car, but we could do that if we really wanted to. But we'll come back to once we have this cut apart so you can see what I got going on here, and then get, you know, new things welded on here. So let's start cutting. Okay, so you can see that we got this chunk chopped off of that oil pan. I'm going to clean it up just a little bit more, take off a little bit more of this aluminum because it's, you know, obviously looking pretty ugly right now. But I think I'm going to leave this thick spot here. It'll be a nice spot that I could always put up against the frame. And there's 2 bolt holes here that we can make a bracket. And we still have access to, if it's like sitting on the frame like this, if I could chop this off here, we'll be able to get to the filter all the way around. And we could even still do an oil cooler off of this spot here if we wanted to. So I'm gonna get this cleaned up. We'll come back to once it's looking a little nicer. But I just thought I'd show you guys me hacking apart that good oil pan. Okay, so you can see that's where the piece was. Now it's chopped off. We cleaned it up all really nicely. And you can see we got a flat spot here. So if you just imagine that this side of the oil pan would be the frame, you can mount it like that. The bungs will be on the top. We still have access for the, if we want to do an oil cooler or whatever with the factory ports there. It remains the LS stock filter number. and that's gonna be pretty sweet. So all we gotta do is get those bungs welded on by my buddy Enemy Metal Works. Hopefully he's gonna do it for me, but that's gonna be pretty sweet on that oil pan over there. How's it going, man?
You know, we're burning.
Pretty good. That's looking pretty sweet.
There you go.
Wow. So here it is, the finished product. It's looking pretty sweet. I thought I'd walk you around everything that we got on here. The coils are just temporary. I'm going to be hiding the coils behind the dash in the car, but this is just easy just so that we can fire it up. But this system is super easy to set up. I've never set one up before, and you know, I don't want to say anything, but me and Dad might have been cranking on her, and she sounds, you know, she sounds pretty good. But you're supposed to hook the red wire up to a relay, but we're not doing that for now. So basically there's just like two harnesses that you got to plug in. There's one for the cam and the crank, and it did come with one, so if your cam sensor's on the front, they have a long enough wire. And there's just the coil harness. Literally just plugs in. We got that hooked up to a ground. Both coils get a ground, so I just hooked them up back here. And then there's just the one positive wire. We set this to truck, and they go by fueling. We might have to mess around with that a little bit, but right now it's just on like a low octane setup. We're gonna set the tripod up, and we're gonna just maybe tease you guys just a little bit of what she sounds like. So here we go. Okay guys, so that's gonna do it for now. This motor turned out pretty wicked. I can't be happier with it. You know, we did it on a low budget, bought everything cheap online as much as I could. So we're only going to tease you guys just a little bit of what this thing sounds like. You guys are going to have to wait till it actually goes into the car to fully hear it, what it sounds like. But thank you guys for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And as always, don't forget to salute the beaver. Okay, Dad, you ready? Mm-hmm. Beauty.